Hey everybody, this is Maxine Taylor with my Trumpology Report for January 2020. Now, before I begin talking about Trump's chart, I want to mention to all of you who are advanced astrology students, if you know how to interpret a chart, and even if you've had a little experience forecasting it, if you're interested in getting more information on forecasting, you might want to sign up for my forecasting webinar series. It's on my website, MaxineTaylor.com. We'll go into transits, secondary progressions, relocated charts, many things, including my favorite predictive tool, as many of you know, the diurnal chart. So we're going to start on the 7th, which doesn't give you a whole lot of time. So if you're interested, go to my website, sign up by the 6th, and we will be in touch. And you will be part of a terrific team that's already been set up. Okay, let us talk about the month of January for Trump. We'll start, of course, with the sun, the giver of life. And wherever it is, as it moves through the chart, what it does is it triggers action. It lights it up. It gives it life. Okay, well, we start off the month, and I've got some lines here for a reason. Okay, I'll explain in a second. It looks a little busy, but I'll explain. The sun begins its journey on January 1st, which is today, in his 5th house of children and fun and sex and sports and fun and more fun. Speculation, which is fun. It sits on his vertex, which is his karmic role in life, on the 13th, and it opposes his anti-vertex. In addition, it opposes his Saturn and Venus. Now, his Saturn-Venus conjunction in his 11th house indicate a very strong tie with his friends. He takes his friendships very seriously and, as we know, expects loyalty from them. If they do not give him loyalty, he eliminates them from his social circle. Well, here is the sun in opposition to his Saturn, Venus. And I'm keeping this very, very simple. There's a lot involved with Saturn, a lot involved with Venus. Saturn, of course, rules his 7th house of partnership, his 6th house of work and employees, and the interception in his 5th house of, here we go again, fun and children and sex and sports, which are fun, and gambling. And so while the sun is sitting in this 5th house, he's playing. And he's doing things his way, of course. He is, as I said, pulling away from his friends, from groups. What is the biggest group in his life? Congress. And this is him pulling away from Congress in order to have more fun. In other words, he's making his own rules. And you might say, well, isn't that what he always does? Yes, it is. And it's more of the same. On the 22nd, the sun moves into his 6th house. This is health and it's work and it's employees. And so he's going to be dealing more with the day-to-day activities of the job, while the sun is in his 6th house. So we want to keep this in mind. Now, you notice I've put the full moon and the new moon here as well. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, all right? The full moon on the 10th is a lunar eclipse. And as we know, whenever we have an eclipse, things happen, especially on the full moon. They come to a head. We feel the effects of an eclipse about a week before it occurs. And until the next pair of eclipses come along, which are usually about 5-6 months later. Well, the next pair of eclipses will be in June, followed by another one in July. This lunar eclipse sits on his anti-vertex, which is the part over which we do have control in his 11th house of friends, group activities, Congress. The eclipse falls on his Saturn and Venus, so he's saying, you owe me, we are friends. In other words, he may be calling in his chips. And this contradicts the sun in opposition to Saturn and Venus, loving, loyal friends. Both of these messages are going on. Now, the eclipse, again, is in 20, I didn't give you the degrees, 20 degrees of Cancer. It's quincunx his south node and moon in his 4th house. This deals with real estate. It deals with his family. And so he's readjusting his home, his family, and his real estate situation. Readjusting it, tweaking it. And the full moon, the lunar eclipse in the 11th house says, okay, friends, it's time for me to put my attention on you. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but it will be in true Trump style. Then we have a new moon on the 24th of the month in 4 Aquarius. Now, for about 2 days before the new moon, the energy is really low. On the new moon, energy starts growing one more time, and activity starts. This new moon trines his Neptune. Neptune rules his 8th house of other people's money. And so other people give him money. It's that simple. He gets money. Now, Neptune rules Pisces on his 8th house cusp of other people's money. And because it's Neptune, it's nebulous, it's hidden. The 8th house is also the house of secrets. And so there will be Neptunian type payment to him. Very, very interesting. So that's the sun with the eclipse and the new moon. All right, let's go over here to Venus. Now, you know, and I know there's a lot more to a forecast than what I'm giving you here, but I want to simplify it and hit the high points in order to make sure that I'm covering the obvious things. Well, Neptune is not obvious. I take that back. I'm sharing that with you because it is there. Okay, Venus, the pink planet, in his 6th house of employees and work and health. And so there's something that he's really enjoying about his job and about the employee situation, perhaps. Maybe his health is looking good. On the 13th of the month, Venus enters his 7th house of partnership. Whether it's business or pleasure, this can be Melania. This can also be the people he meets when he's on the road campaigning, because the 7th house is the public. The 7th house is also litigation. And so there can be some litigation that he's going through. Well, he's always going through litigation, but some litigation that he's going through that bears fruit for him. And here's how now Venus is the lesser benefic, and whatever it touches is happy. And so he is feeling very good in his rapport with other people. And of course, he loves being in the limelight. So Venus is squaring his Uranus North Node and Sun. The Sun is the ego. The North Node is a very positive public image, and Uranus is the rebel. So he is enjoying popularity with other people, but he's overdoing the ego. It's overdoing a good thing when Venus squares the Sun. If one is good, two is better. So it's the pleasure of interacting with people is overdone. You might say, how do you overdo a good thing? I don't have an answer for that. I would say if you overdo on Monday, you underdo on Tuesday. Now, Venus is also squaring his south node moon. This is home and family. And so there can be a lot of indulgence with family members. He can be receiving lots of applause and popularity and acclaim from the public, which he loves. And what happens here is that Venus forms what we call a T cross. I was going to say a grand square, but it's not a grand square, it's a T cross. A T cross is a grand square with a missing part. It's a table with 3 legs instead of 4. And so what happens is the energy from all this partying and enjoyment and all that is channeled directly into his first house. The first house is him, his physical body. The first house is the me house. And so he's taking all this and he's really enjoying it. Now, I have seen charts in which overindulgence affects your health. And this can be what we're looking at here. Too much of a good thing. I don't know if we'll know about it, but if I were one of his advisors, I would say cut back on the sugar, cut back on the overeating, cut back on the indulging. But Venus here is other people opening the door for indulgence for him. And he takes it all in, understandably, of course. All righty, I'm going to keep on going here. Oh, Mercury, yes, Mercury, the blue planet. Well, it sits on his vertex on the 12th. The sun sat on his vertex on the 13th, and the anti-vertex, and the anti-vertex. Now, the vertex is your karmic role in life over which you really have no control. You've set it up for yourself, and Trump's vertex is in his 5th house of, gosh, we can all sing this together. Fun, sex, children, sports, enjoyment of all types. And so on the 12th, it sits there in opposition to the anti-vertex over which you have control, but it's in opposition. So he's pulling away from that. The 11th house, as we've talked about so many times, is friends and group activities. And in his case, Congress. It's the same deal with Mercury. Now, on the 17th, Mercury moves into his 6th house. Now, Mercury is what we think about, what we talk about. So there's a lot of talk about speculation, about fun, even talking with his children, so that there can be more focus on the kids involved in some speculative way. Maybe speculating for him or him just plain old having fun. On the 17th, Mercury moves into his 6th house, and he thinks about his work, the daily activities. It's across those T's and dot those I's house, the 6th house. It is in opposition to his Pluto, which is control, and his Mars, which is anger, all going on behind the scenes. So he's pulling away from that all months, because Mercury starts in opposition to Pluto and keeps on going. It hits the midpoint between itself and Mars. And then by the 31st of the month, Mercury is in opposition to Mars. It's a forming aspect, but it's in opposition to Mars. And so I think because of Venus, the pink planet, giving him so much popularity and adulation and all that good stuff, he is pulling away from the need to be in control, which is very, very interesting. Okay? All right. Now, let's look at Mars. Mars sits in his 4th house of home, family, and real estate. It's been there. And it's going to stay in his 4th house all month. By the end of the month, it is on his south node. This is the area of drain, of loss. It's in opposition to his north node, which is popularity and success. So he's pulling away from his career, his popularity, and his success to focus on the family. There may be some issue that comes up. That's number one. Fourth house deals with real estate. And so he's got real estate holdings all over the place. There can be a problem with one of them that keeps him out of the limelight at the very, very end of the month. So we'll see how that works out. Now, I want to show you something that I found to be very, very interesting. And remember, we know he's been impeached, and nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. In other words, it's business as usual. Same old, same old. I wanted to look and see what long-range aspects were going on, and these are very interesting. The first one is Pluto. Pluto is control or transformation. It's in his fifth house of fun, sex, speculation, sports, enjoyment of all types. Oh, and children. And children. They all tie in together. All right. So Pluto is in opposition to Saturn, reality, and Venus, love and beauty. It's in opposition to his 11th house of friends. And the biggest group that he's involved in is Congress. And Pluto is making its own rules. I imagine that at some point during this year, we're going to see some big changes that he brings about with Congress, in Congress, and with Congress people. I can only imagine. Because remember, what he has to do at all times, I want to find the solar, here we go. What he has to do at all times is keep us guessing, be rebellious, and be in the limelight. And so as he pulls away from some of his congressional buddies, this can mean a shakeup for everybody. It keeps us off balanced. It keeps us sick. It keeps us concerned. And Pluto's going to be there all year. In addition, here's another interesting aspect that I've seen. Neptune, the planet of illusion, of make-believe, is in his seventh house. The seventh house, of course, is his partnerships. So there's been a make-believe quality about all of his relationships. I'm thinking of Melania, but I'm also thinking of obfuscation coming from and toward the public. Neptune and Pluto, in fact, but Neptune is make-believe. It's illusion. And so with Neptune in his seventh house, he is all things to all people. He is the way people want to see him. With Neptune there, all he has to do is punch a button by using a few chosen words, and the public will react to him, to the illusion that is being created. Okay? Neptune also dissolves things. It is squaring Uranus, the rebel. That means it's given the rebel a hard time, but with Neptune, you don't know you're having a hard time. It confuses you as well. And so he may be confused about his public image. He may buy into something about his public image that the public is giving him. Neptune is in the seventh house of litigation, okay? And that is where it can manifest as well. Smoke screens, make believe, wishful thinking about his rebellious public image. So it might be harming him and he wouldn't know it. That type of thing. I thought this was the most fascinating part of his forecast. And Pluto and Neptune will be doing this all year. All year. Make a little note. All year. So that's what I have to share with you, my dear friends. And so join me next month when, once again, we see the next chapter in the continuous saga of Donald Trump. It's going to be an interesting ride. I don't know if I mentioned this or not. I'm sure in one of my videos I did. We have Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year, and the last retrograde ends. Mercury goes direct on Election Day, November 3rd, 2020. The energy changes, it's weird, it's strange. Expect the unexpected, although some people who are predicting things are never surprised. They have a different take on things. So I hope that this has been fascinating for you, especially the Neptune-Pluto stuff. And I hope to see you next month when we do February. And some of you, I hope, will be part of my webinar group. I would love to share all the things I do in forecasting with you. So, till we meet again, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now.